Hi, this is Tom Muir with another animated drill from World Class Coaching. This week I want to look at diamond drills. The diamond drill format is a very popular one for working on passing and receiving and combination play. Most coaches have used some variation of it. Oftentimes you'll see it done in a box, sometimes in a triangle, but many times in diamonds. So the simple action here that most teams will use is a simple pass, follow your pass. So we'll have a player with the ball passing, following their pass to that player. All right, we'll make that a passing line. And when the pass is completed, then that player that passed the ball follows to the next line. Here we would also have a group of players. So we'll add a couple of here because when the ball comes around, we want them to be able to receive the next pass. So you'll see this format very often: pass, then this player will come in and follow their pass. So we'll add another line here. So we'll follow this pass with a run, and this player will open up and play the other direction and follow their pass. So, that's common. Very simple. You can do it to the right. You can do it to the left. You're focusing on receiving on the back foot, opening up. You may have, and probably should have, this player, check away in this direction, come back and show for the ball. You could also just have them checking directly away and directly back so they can come away to create space and then back to receive the ball. Is another way to do that. So there's a lot of different actions that you can teach within this basic format, but what I want to look at today are some adjustments that you can make. The first one that I like to make is I like to have, if possible, have two players at each of these cones, because what we can do is we can have them act as mannequins. So we'll have a second player there. We'll add another player here as well. So now what we've got is we've got the ability to use other players as mannequins so that the player that's active can check away from that quote-unquote mannequin player and make it very realistic so that we're not just using the space taken up by a defender there, but we actually have a physical defender that perhaps we can check behind with that run that I talked about before, making two runs, checking away, coming back, checking for the ball there to receive it. So we're actually checking away from a player. We can even have them push off of that player as they would with a real defender, open up to the outside and receive that pass and then follow their pass and go around. So a simple variation just by adding one player there. I think you make this a more realistic exercise. And then when the player that passed the ball comes into this cone, they'll just take the place of the player on the cone. So the player on the cone will check out and become active. So we're rotating constantly so that everybody's involved in getting opportunity to pass, but they're also serving a purpose by standing there. So that's the first thing. So we'll just get rid of those extra ones. We won't use them anymore for this next activity. The next one I like to use is to have the players, instead of turning outside, which you'll often see, using the defender, using the cone as a defender and turning to the outside. What I like to see is the ball coming in to the second player, and then that second player, after having checked away, checked back, we'll just give them that run there. They've checked away, checked back. This is a pass, so we'll make it look like that. And now instead of opening up and turning to the outside, we'll have this player then dribble to the inside, turn to the inside of the field. And by turning to the inside of the field, now we're kind of beating that defender on the inside of the cone. So we'll just show that here, coming this way, turning inside after having received the ball, and we'll make that more like a dotted line as they're moving into the inside. So they're receiving onto the inside, so they can do that with the outside of one foot. They can use the other foot and chop it across their body with the inside of the foot, but we're basically turning to the inside and then making that next pass to the next player in line after that to keep the pattern going. So each time the players are receiving the ball there and then turning to the inside of the cone. So just a small difference, but one that I think is important, just a way to train another skill and turn to the inside rather than the outside. So we'll get rid of these. And then the next thing I like to do is to incorporate this person on the other side of the area. And we'll just get rid of them and we'll replace them with a player facing this direction. So instead of having that player waiting until the ball comes around, we'll have this player checking into the center to receive a pass. So now, as before, we've got the player here checking away, checking back to receive it. But now when they receive it, they're going to lay that ball off to the inside. So by making the pass to the inside, now we've incorporated that player coming from the opposite side of the diamond to receive the ball. Then this player would spin out, and we'll give them that action. And so when they spin out, after having received the ball here, and they spin out, and then they receive the ball. See if we can get that line there. Try that one again. So we'll paint that line in here, and the player comes and spins around to the outside to receive the pass back from this player that checked across the grid. And so we'll make that dotted just to show it clearly. And so now we've got a ball that was been laid off, then that player spins off to receive the ball in behind and then complete that pattern there. Now, when I do this, I'll only do it on the sides. I won't do it on the ends. So when this player receives the ball here, they simply make that pass. The player on the end there receives the pass, opens up, and will now complete this same pattern with the player on the left side. So after this player checks into the middle, makes their pass, then that player will come back out to the outside to complete the next action so that they can open up after making their run, receive the ball, turn it to the inside where this player comes. Now, obviously the very first player here after making their pass joins this line. Then the player that has completed this pass will come in here to that cone. So we're all following our pass and creating this same action now on the other side of the field. Now, something I'll often do is if I only have a group of 4 players, let's say, and I want to have 4 players in this group, and we're passing and following our pass, obviously this player moves to the 2nd position, this player moves to the 3rd position, this player moves to the 4th, but now there's no one to pass to. And so what we'll do is we'll have this last player dribble to this spot. Now, sometimes I do this out of necessity because we only have so many players available. I don't like to have more than 2 people waiting here, so I'll make a number of these diamonds so that we can keep as many people active as possible and have as little standing around as possible. So by adding that player dribbling, that adds a different dimension to it, and it keeps the exercise flowing so that every time when they get to this 4th cone in the pattern, they're always dribbling to the start, chopping the ball out of their feet. So this player then has to time their run as to when they move away from the ball and then come back and check in for that next pass. So we've got, the timing of the runs based on the dribbler there too. So it just adds a different action. And even if I'm not short players, sometimes I want this to happen in the exercise. So even if we say have an extra player down here and we've got an extra player in line waiting, we'll have that player also have a ball. And so if that player has a ball, then immediately when the player at this 4th cone starts to dribble in, then the next player in line will start the pattern so that we keep the ball moving. And this will also create much quicker passes as well. So oftentimes we should have really 2 balls in play. So as soon as this 4th player gets the ball, then this next player in line immediately starts the pattern in that other direction so that we keep this flowing and fast. Now, the last one that I'll go over today is having different actions in each corner. So perhaps in this first corner, we check back, we receive the ball with the back foot, open up, and play this next pass. Then at the top of the diamond, we'll complete a give and go or a layoff and a through ball, if you will, after this player is checked away. Then here at this last corner, then we'll have the player dribble to the start, so that at every corner we have a different action. Now, obviously, you could change these actions. You make this a back pedal where the player comes in, receives it, lays it back, then back pedals to open up, receive it and go in the other direction. You could have this player turn to the inside of the cone before playing here and then completing the give and go or the through ball, because maybe that's a little bit more realistic on the outside rather than done at the top. But as you can see, just having a different action in each corner makes the players think as well, because what they're going to do is not just a pattern that they're repeating over and over, but it's dependent upon which corner they're in and which action they're completing. The highest level of this is allowing the players to determine which action happens in each corner, so that the player receiving the ball can open it up and play on their back foot and keep going, or they can lay the ball back to the player who then needs to support them to complete whatever action, whether it's a pass back or a through ball. So then you get the players really thinking about it. But this is the next step toward having the players kind of be autonomous and figure it out for themselves, is to give them different actions and to show them what's possible in each corner. So there are many different variations you can use for this. I discussed this in a podcast for CoachingSoccerWeekly.com. It was episode 35 on 11 different diamond drill combinations. So you can check that out at CoachingSoccerWeekly.com. If you have ideas for different ways you use diamond drills and some different patterns or different methods, please leave those in the comment section below. Thanks a lot.